Between May 1990 to May 1992, Colonel Richard Graves and Command Sergeant Major Everett Miles initiated the 4 phases of the worldwide Technical Control Improvement Program to include the upgrades to the batch change supplement, software for the SL100 switches to enhance performance and management of the network and provide subscriber enhancement features. Between May 1992 to May 1994, Colonel William Russ, along with Command Sergeant Major Melvin Dobson, reorganized the Directorate of Plans and Operations.
First job in the brigade as a captain in 1994 was as an electrical engineer in the Project Support Detachment, which was the engineering branch of 1st Signal Brigade. It had previously been called ISEC Far East as a separate entity, and then it had been brought into the brigade to give them an engineering and installation capability. Worked on strategic facilities throughout Korea.
You know, in Korea you had the 2 strategic signal battalions, and there was this arbitrary kind of line drawn, you know, between the 41st area and then the 36th area, which had, you know, the bulk of the space.
The 41st Signal Battalion is a strategic communications support battalion, and the mission at that time was to support the northern third of South Korea for all communication systems within that region. Everything from 16 general officers' personal telephones to the backbone fiber optic network enabling us to communicate across lines.
The backbone at the time was, in 1994, was the fiber optic cable system in Korea, or FOXIC was the acronym it was given.
It was fast, it was reliable when it wasn't cut, and when the fiber was cut, then it became a major exercise in contingency operations on how to repair that. I watched how the Korean nationals would set up a tent and painstakingly go through each individual strand of fiber to repair that across the board. But the systems we provided included the fiber optic backbone, the microwave communication systems, switchboard telecommunication systems, everybody's personal telephone line that was installed in their quarters as well as the offices, teletype, message center, all the communications in which you watch the American Forces Network products, and the radio distribution system as well. So every communication system that was on the peninsula to fight in a tactical or strategic environment, as well as to support the armed forces members and their families, fell within our purview in that area. And the reason it was only 1/3 of Korea is because that was the densest population where the majority of the large tactical units were. So we covered everything from the demilitarized zone down to the Osan area of operations.
The microwave backbone had been deactivated. All the microwave sites were closed, and they had not yet installed a replacement to it, though they were working on the engineering for it at that time.
A second one that was important to me was the satellite technology that we had. Now, when I left the 1st Signal Brigade and the 41st Signal Battalion, I became the commander of the American Forces Network Korea, or the American Forces Korean Network as it was known back in the 90s. At one time, every commander of a broadcast network in the Army was commanded by a Signal Corps officer, because you had to understand the communication systems more than you needed to understand the broadcast and the public affairs impact. The blending of both of those skills was key. But the satellite technology was very important. This is before cable technology was put in place on the peninsula. It was just starting to come in 1994. But the #1 source of gathering your television information was by satellite, because the satellite was originated in Riverside, California, uplinked over the states and downloaded in Bangor, Maine, and then uploaded from Maine and then downloaded into the European theater, and from a Pacific standpoint, uploaded over Hawaii, downloaded to Australia, uploaded again, and then downloaded to cover Korea, Japan, Okinawa, Guam, the Philippines for all their American Forces Network. But there's only one broadcast channel of television. And when the satellite system went out, you had absolutely no television coverage. So whenever I see a television screen today that's all fuzz, I still shiver, because as soon as the satellite went out, when I was the S3 for the 41st Signal Battalion, my telephone, my beeper, people knocking on the door. Every communication system available to get to me personally was there to make sure we started fixing the satellites. So the fiber and the satellites were really a backbone system at that point in time.
Still a very circuit-based system. The multiplex system for the FOXIC backbone was a T3 backbone with T1s breaking out from it. So very circuit-based, very legacy-based system. Everything was essentially T1 level was the level you worked at for the tech control facilities. Several projects were going at different times. There was a program back in which was run out of States to upgrade all the tech controls to what was called a matrix switch system, which would have replaced the analog patch and test capability with a digital patch and test capability. But it essentially would still be a circuit-based architecture, analog circuit-based architecture, just with digital patch and test, which was remotely manipulable instead of a person physically moving patch cables and wires in the tech controls. We recommended to change out the FOXIC termination equipment to ATM, asynchronous transfer mode. At the time, routers weren't fast enough to do constant circuits, constant T1 type circuits, but ATM provided you the capability to do constant type circuits over a switched architecture, switched backbone, using carrier grade ATM equipment. So it became a very political struggle because the upgrade plan for the matrix switch was a program of record, had money behind it, resources had been spent, etc., etc. But we said, stop where you are, consider that a sunk cost and spend the money on buying ATM equipment. And that fight actually carried over into 1996, 97 after I left the PSD. But the net result was that as the installation started about the time I left, bringing in the carrier grade ATM equipment and upgrading everything to ATM. So that was the start of moving the FOXIC over to a modern digital architecture.